Hello and welcome to Dr. Nobody podcast. Today I got an exciting guest, a family friend. This is a new format that we're trying, which is she's right in front of me. I can see her eyes. I can smell her breath. No, that's not that too close. Just joking. So today her story is very exciting, very personal. I'm hoping that you guys really listen and become very motivated to what she has to say today. So I'm going to pass it over to Rhonda Richardson. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you.
So, Rhonda, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself so the guests, as a guest, everybody can get to know you and hear your story and prelude to what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. My name's Rhonda. I'm 55 years old. I've been married for 20 years, together for 31. I have a 26-year-old daughter who just graduated with her master's in school counseling. I have a 22-year-old son who's getting his master's and will be done next year. I grew up in a small town in Vermont, moved to New Jersey around 1998. And my typical day, I get up at 4:45, work out, do my Bible study, eat breakfast, go to work. I work 2 jobs, one from about 8 to 2. And then I go to my second job from 2:30 to 5:30.
I guess my first question immediately is, why do you get up that early?
Well, so I have some health issues. Well, I don't really have health issues, but I have arthritis in my knee really bad. And when I was around 53, I got diagnosed with high blood pressure, and not super high, but a little bit. So they put me on medication, and my body was just really in pain every day. So I reached out to a friend who had recently started working out and exercising, and I noticed that she was, talking about how her body hurt and it felt better. So talking to her, I decided, I didn't think I could work out because, my knee is bone on bone and it's a lot of pain. So I really didn't. And that's probably why I got into the situation, because I used to be very athletic and do sports. But then when I got arthritis, I couldn't really do anything. So basically, I just wanted to take my health back. So I started, a program, eating right, working out every day. I hate cardio, so I don't do cardio. A little bit here and there, mostly weights, lifting weights, eating protein and stuff. So the only time I have is in the morning, because I get out of work at 5:30 by the time I get home and, do dinner for the family and stuff. It's, 7, 8 o'clock. So in order to work out, I have to get up early. But it actually is great. I love it. I have so much time. I work out, and then I have time for myself to, do my Bible study, eat breakfast, play my little New York Times crossword games. So it just started. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, and It's been great.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
That's new to me. I have no self-discipline like that. I don't think I could get up. So I'm very impressed. What time do you go to bed?
Well, I would love to go to bed by 8:30 or 9, but I have to spend a little bit of time with my husband. So, and sometimes I'll just fall asleep while we're watching TV or something. But probably by 10 for sure.
Okay.
So I'm not getting. That's my next goal, to get more sleep, because I have to get more sleep, but I don't.
Well, scientifically, if you're consistently going to bed and rising at the same time every day, it actually doesn't affect you as much as you think. It's not about the quality. It's the quantity. It's about the quality of sleep. So if you're sleeping 6 hours and you do it every day, your body actually adapts to that. It's perfectly fine. But if you're erratic, 6 hours, 5 hours, 9 hours, 2 hours,
good to know.
It's very, very bad behavior.
That's really good to know, because everything says, you have to sleep at least 8 hours.
It's a new study that recently was published. This is for everybody, not just for Rhonda. This is a very recent study that was published on sleeping behaviors, and they were baffled by the results as well, because forever everybody thought you have to get a certain amount of sleep, and it's like, no. You have to get a certain amount of sleep with the same behavior every time, and your body actually picks up on that. Your circadian rhythm resets, and it adapts to that, and your body feels better that way.
That's knowledge to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So let's get back to your story.
Okay.
So I'm sure the other listeners are probably reacting is like, what a dramatic difference from Vermont to New Jersey. Why that? That's like huge.
It's such a long story.
We have time.
Well, the reason I grew up in a small town in Vermont. My high school had about 500 people total. So everybody knew everybody. And it was a union high school. So that was from about 5 different towns. So very rural, very small. I moved after high school, I went to Burlington, Vermont, which is one of the biggest cities, maybe the biggest city in Vermont, for college. That was quite different, very big, lots of people, very diverse. Where I grew up, it was not very diverse. So I grew up in Burlington, and I went to college for a year. I was going to college for business, and I did well, and came home that summer, started working, met a man. I was probably 19. I was 19. He was probably about 25. Started dating him. It was like my first real dating relationship. We spent the summer together, and then I just decided I wasn't going to go back to school. So I spent, it's a typical story. I dropped out of college, spent, probably almost a year with him. We broke up. It didn't work out. And then I moved home for a little while. But, I was young, and all my friends were still in Burlington, going to college. And my best friend at the time had an apartment, and she needed they had one roommate, but they needed another roommate. And she asked me, she's like, why don't you come up here? And I said, okay. So I started putting out, at that time, like, I don't know if we even used the computer. I don't even know. Was it 1989? Did we have the computer then? I don't even remember. But somehow I sent my resume to a few places in Burlington, and I got a call from a company to come up and interview. And so I went up, interviewed, got a job there. And so I moved in with my friends and was working there for a while. Started dating another guy. This was probably a year later. A guy who I thought was really nice. I thought he was really nice. He thought was nice to me. But I was with my friend one day, and we were out to dinner with, I think it was her brother. And he was a police officer. And he said, who's that guy you're dating? And I said the name again. And he said, he's a drug dealer, right? This is Vermont. And I'm like, what? He's not a drug dealer. No, he works in construction. He told me he works in construction. I was so naive and so green then. Like, today that would set off some alarms. Yeah, but then I was like, oh, he's in construction. Okay. And so he's like, no, you really should not be dating him. We've had him on our watch list, you need to not be with him. So I, of course, asked him. He of course denied it, said, no, I'm not. I do construction, da da. But I knew that I needed to end it with him, because I knew that it wouldn't be a good situation if I stayed. So I broke up with him, but we would go out, and I would go out with my friends. We'd visit the same spots. I'd always see him, and always gravitate back towards each other. And I knew if I stayed in Vermont, in that area, I wouldn't be able to stay away from him. So I said, I got to get out of here. I started researching, just random jobs out of Vermont. And I found this nanny agency in New York State. And I sent her my qualifications. I had no qualifications at the time, just babysitting. I was 19. I was like 21. And so I sent her my references, but she said, yeah, you can come here, come to the nanny agency. We'll train you for a little while, and then we'll place you with a family. And I said, okay. I said to my friends, I'm really sorry, but I can't stay here. I have to go. So I packed up my car and drove, 3.5, 4 hours down to New York State, and went to the nanny agency. Stayed there for a week. They placed me with a family in New Jersey, and then we moved up to New York. Then I was with another family for about 6 years. Met my husband, got married. He was from New Jersey, so that's how we ended up in New Jersey. Long story, but
It wasn't that long.
Well, it felt long.
Maybe long in real life, like all the years going through everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So how difficult was it for you to move away from Vermont and moving to very populated, dense, rush life?
Well, at the time, I'm 22 and it's kind of, I didn't really think about it. I just knew I needed to get away from, where I was and change my situation. So I didn't really think about it too much. When I moved to New York State at the nanny agency, it wasn't, it was just me and another girl and a family. So it wasn't like too weird. And then when I moved to New Jersey and New York, it was kind of exciting because, I'm 22. The city's right here. There's so much to do. There's so many people. It was exciting and great. Like it was a good transition.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what kind of challenges did you face during that transition for yourself?
I guess just, being away from my family, my friends. But when you work as a nanny, there's always like a community of other girls, you meet other families that have nannies and stuff, and you kind of develop friendships. And so you have a little community, but I guess just not having, family nearby and, figuring out financially all the stuff. I mean, you live with a family, so I was a live-in nanny, so you live with a family and they pay you, so you don't have to pay rent and stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah, but if you're not educated financially, you don't realize, I'm not paying rent. I should save all this money. You're 22, you're near the city, you just go out and spend your money. So, so it was just, I was young and it was just challenging to figure out what I was doing.
When you dropped out of college, did you feel like that really derailed you, or are you looking back at it now and wishing that you finished or anything like that? How did college affect you?
100%. I was very disappointed with myself for not going back to school at the time. I look back and that's one of my biggest regrets is not finishing college, because I did well. And, I feel like it would have set me up better. But, me growing up, I didn't have a dad. And so I think for myself, I was always searching for that love and acceptance. And man paid attention to me and, showed me kindness, and I just gravitated towards that. And at the time, that's what I needed. So I wasn't even thinking about anything. I was just looking for love and acceptance. So but I do regret not finishing college.
And do you have siblings?
I don't.
You don't. So you're an only child and you left your mom.
Yeah. My mom was married, and my mom had got married when I was 14. She had gotten married. And so she,
is your stepdad then?
My stepdad, yeah, and they were together until she passed. They were together over 30 years. So she had him, so she was okay. I mean, she didn't want, of course, she said, "What are you doing? You're going to move somewhere you don't know with people you don't know. Like 3 states away." But she was kind of, my mom and I had a really great relationship. She was, we loved each other really well, and we had no problem telling each other. But she was kind of, she was young when she had me. She was 18. So we kind of grew up together, and she was kind of a hands-off mom. Like, she was involved. She was at all my sporting events. She was involved in everything. But, she was a mom that said, when you're, I was like maybe like 16, and she's like, okay, if you want to have sex, let me know and I'll put you on the pill. If you're going to a party, I'll give you the alcohol, but make sure you call me for a ride home. So she was kind of, she was kind of, I think, trying to give me my independence and with a little bit of reins. So although she didn't want me to go, I don't think she was really shocked when I.
Yeah.
she was involved in her life at that time. So,
So she seemed very supportive.
No, well, she wasn't supportive of me leaving, but
in another sense,
yeah, she was supportive, and she, she did the best she knew how to. She didn't want me to repeat her mistakes, so she tried to. I don't know if I agree with that parenting, but it worked. It worked. I was a really good kid in high school. Like, I drank, and I drank at parties and stuff, but I didn't do drugs. I didn't have sex in high school. I would stay at my friend's house when her parents would go to Florida for weeks at a time. I would stay at her house, but we would still get up, go to school, go to sports, So
I'm just a little curious about, how involved your dad was, during that time, because I'm sure me as a dad, my daughter's very, very young. She's only 8 months, but I would be freaking out, even if I'm not exactly part of your life, because I think that's the case here, right? Because they were divorced or separated.
Well, they were never together. Oh. My mom was 18. She had graduated high school. She was away for the summer at her sister's house, and she met my father, and they were in a short relationship. It was the first relationship for her, first time she had sex. She got pregnant. She told him, she said to him before they had sex, what if I get pregnant? He's like, oh, you get pregnant, we'll get married. But when she told him she was pregnant, he said, actually, I'm already married. I'm separated from my wife.
Oh, yeah. My goodness.
And my mom, she was 18. He was older too, probably like 25 or something. Random.
Wait, he was 25 and he was already married and everything?
Yeah, yeah. So she basically said, okay, done with you. Moved home with her parents, moved back with her parents. She ripped up all her pictures, all her photos, everything. Apparently he did call shortly after I was born and said, what did we have? And she said, I had a girl, you had nothing. I don't want anything to do with you. Goodbye.
Good.
So, yeah. So growing up, I grew up without a father. She always said to me, if you ever want to meet him or you want to find out more about him, I will give you any information I know and you can try to contact him. So growing up, she had a few in and out live-in boyfriends. She had one boyfriend who lived with us for like 9 years, and he kind of became like a father figure to me. Mm-hmm. But he was an alcoholic. What I know about alcoholism at that time, like our time together would be he would bring me to the Legion, which is a bar club thing. And he would sit in the bar and drink, and I would sit out. They had like video games, and he would get me food and stuff. So, but what did I know? Like that was my first real father figure. Mm-hmm. But they split up. Good for my mom. She left him because he was not good. And then at 14, she married my stepfather, which was weird. He was a wonderful man, and he was great to her. But at 14, I'd say for maybe the 3 years before that, it was just me and her. Mm-hmm. And she never really told me she was dating him. She just was one day, oh, I met this guy. We're getting married. And I was like, what? And I was such a brat. I didn't go to their wedding. I said, I'm not going. Like, I don't know this guy. I'm not going. But looking back, I regret that because that was not supportive. When I became a mom, and I wrote this big, long letter to her about, apologizing for all my behavior as a teen and, just being mean. Not, like I said, I wasn't a bad kid, but I was mean to her, mm-hmm. Sometimes as teenagers are and stuff. And I felt horrible. I had this breakdown and wrote to her, and she's like, I said, did you get my letter? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, what do you think? She's like, what do you mean what I think? You were a kid. Like, I didn't even think about it. Like, so she was very forgiving, and a lot of unconditional love there. But anyways, my dad. So yeah, I grew up without him. And when I met my husband and we were going to get married, so I was probably 26, got married at 27. So about 26, I said, Mom, I really think I want to meet him. Just to get some information, health information. I want to see what he looked like because my mom was dark skin and dark hair. I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, and I didn't think we look alike. Now I do. But at the time, so she gave me the information. And at the time, you could call information, dial 0 for the operator. I think it was 0. And I said, do you have a listing in this town for this person? They gave me the number, called the number. And I said, hi, do you know so-and-so? From this summer and when I was born and everything, I said, if you did, I don't know if I have the right person, but I think I'm your daughter. And he said, I think you do have the right person. And I said, oh, okay, bye. And I hung up. And then he called me back, star 69 at the time, I guess. And he said, I hope you didn't think he's like, I don't want you to think that I didn't want to meet you. I was very happy to get the call. And, we talked a little bit. We agreed to meet. We met in the city. We met at a restaurant in the city, and I was expecting it to be like, all those Hallmark movies and all, where you meet your dad, your birth dad, and you're like, oh, and there's this instant connection. But when he walked in and we met, he was a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel anything towards him. I think my mom loved me really well. So I didn't, although I look back and know that I was missing the fatherly love at the time, I just kind of wanted to meet him to know, information. Yeah. So we stayed in touch for a little while, but he would send me, cards on my birthday with money. And I just kind of felt like he was just obligated to do that. Mm-hmm. And he felt obligated. So I said, I don't necessarily need a relationship. I just wanted to know these things about you. So we stopped talking, and I haven't really talked to him. I don't know. It's been years, probably since my kids were little. Mm-hmm. So he's really not a part of my life. I see, them on Facebook every now and then, him and his wife and his new family.
New family?
Well, he ended up, I think he ended up marrying a woman who had 3 kids, and they had 1 child together. So I do have a half brother out there, but I've never met him. And I mean, I don't really care to meet him. I mean, it's interesting, but so
yeah,
that's the dad story.
That's quite the story. There's definitely not a Hallmark twist there. It was more like a crazy twist,
like a Lifetime.
Well, I don't watch any of those, but just from the grapevine that I hear this from. But yeah, I mean, so moving forward from your dad, right? Did you feel, after you transitioned away, did you feel like that impacted you in your life in any way, of like before meeting him, during meeting him, and then after meeting him? Did that change anything for you?
I don't really think it did. I mean, I knew what he looked like. I realized, he was Italian, Northern Italy, blonde hair, blue eyes. So I got kind of that from him. But not really. He was a stranger. I didn't feel any connection. I wanted to feel a connection, and I felt like he, wanted to do the right thing at that time when I contacted him. But in the back of my head, I'm like, you had 26 years. If you really wanted to know about me, you could have found me. Mm-hmm. So I felt okay. So I don't think it really, I mean, I'm glad I met him just to know. And I think it was a good decision for me and brave of me to just reach out to him. And so I'm glad I did that. But I don't think it changed too much in my life.
So changing gears a little bit, why don't you tell us a little bit about your working experience? And I know you said that you're a nanny, and I personally know that you've done things at school, and then I know you have 2 jobs. Why don't you tell us, the listeners, a little more about that?
Sure. So when I met my husband, I was working as a nanny, and we talked. I was 24. He was 21. And at that point in my life, I look back and I'm like, 24, man, I was so young. But I was kind of done with dating at that time. And so, I met him. We sat down. We spent some time together. We sat down. We talked. And I kind of just laid it out for him. I said, listen, this is what I've done. This is where I've been. This is what I'm looking for. I'm not saying we have to get married right now, but I want a relationship I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to stay home with my children. So my husband, he agreed. We both grew up with single moms who worked all the time. So we both agreed that we wanted to be there for our children and be involved. So when I said that, I laid it out for him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's what I want. I'm in. He's 21. What did he know? He didn't know the ride he was going for, but at the time, another thing, I'm really proud. Like, I was really honest. We had this really open and honest conversation before we started dating, because I was only 24, but at that time I feel like I'd been through so much and I was just kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
So
you matured very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got married. I didn't really have a choice, right? So when we got married, I was still working as a nanny, and then I got married working with the family I was working for. They were wonderful. I was with them for 6 years. I had a basement apartment there. So we got married. He moved in. He lived with me while I worked. We got married. After about 2 years, I got pregnant. I stayed with them throughout my pregnancy. And then a month before I was pregnant, I moved to New Jersey. So we moved to New Jersey. We had the baby. I stayed home. He worked 2 jobs for a long time. I started getting involved in my church. When I moved to New Jersey, I didn't know anybody. We knew people, but I didn't know anybody that had children.
Yeah.
So I had this devotional Bible. It was called MOPS Devotional Bible, Mothers of Preschoolers. And in the devotional, it was talking about MOPS groups, these MOPS groups where you go and you drop your kid off. They have babysitting there, and you spend time with other young moms, and you hear, a devotional, there's a speaker, you do a craft, you have a brunch. So I searched out a MOPS group and found one in the area, went to the MOPS group. It was great. Went to the Bible study that week, and then we joined that. We joined that church, and we were there for so many years. Met some really great people, strong Christians, strong moms. I didn't know how to be a mom, so they kind of mentored me. So I was home for. My daughter was 3. We put her in Christian school, but then I was pregnant with my son. So I was home until he was 3. So I was home for 7 years, and then we put him in Christian preschool. And the principal there knew that, money was tight and we were struggling a little bit. And he said, I know you have experience with children. Why don't you come work at the school as an aide, which was great. Yeah. So I worked. I went to work at the school. I was in Christian education for about 20 years. I worked as an aide, a kindergarten aide. I worked as a preschool teacher. 2020 happened, COVID. My son was graduating that year. He was kind of left. I had to finish. I was teaching preschool at the time. I had to finish the last 5 months on remote with preschoolers, with 3-year-olds.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I know.
I'm sure that's a whole podcast.
Yeah. So I was talking to my husband, and I said, listen, the kids are out of the school. I don't know. I thought we were gonna in the fall we're gonna go back into remote, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do preschool with remote preschool with kids. And so I said, I think I kind of need a change. So my husband said, whatever you want to do, I'll support you. So I said, let me check out the nanny thing again. And I uploaded my my resume to a site and started interviewing, and met a really nice woman who was moving from Brooklyn to New York. Her and her family. She had 2 little girls. They were, 4 and 2 at this. 4 and 2. I think turning 5 and turning 3 at the time. Mm-hmm. So I interviewed with them, and they offered me a position. So I left the school and started working for them. And it was great. She's wonderful. The family's wonderful. The girls are wonderful. But as the girls, I've been with them going on 4 years now. So as the girls got older, they started not needing me as much,
Sure.
you know. So I reached out to the school and I said, you know, do you have anything available? I don't really want to go back into teaching or aiding, but is there anything, you know, that I could do to supplement while the girls are in school? And they offered me an administrative assistant, which I love and I wanted to do for a very long time. I'm in the office at the school, which is great because I know all the parents and I know all the kids. You know, the first group of kids I had are now probably like 26 or something. So it was really cool. So I started. So now I work at the school from 8 to 2, and then I pick up the girls when they get out of school, and I'm with them till 5:30. So that's how I came into that. And it worked out great because as I was working at the school, you know, it was the same holidays as the kids, same summers, same vacations. So it really allowed me to be present in their lives, which is what I wanted.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And as a side note, before we come back to this, I just say that MOPS is amazing. And for me,
amazing.
For my wife, she really appreciated MOPS because she felt very similar to you. You know, new kid, new being a mom. And I think community and support is so important for not just moms, but for dads too, because I have, you know, with your husband, my poker group.
Your dad's group.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Our dad. So we have that, and it's a different experience. So, you know, I want to stress to people like our listeners that besides MOPS, there's other groups that are just supportive, and having that community is like really awesome that you can share with people. And I think MOPS was a game changer for us. So
me too.
To hear a story from someone else that MOPS worked and has worked is really cool to hear, because, you know, outside our inner circle, it's one thing. But then, inside our inner circle is one thing, and then outside is a different thing from our church. So that's really cool. So how has your faith and God affected you through your course, or has it always been present in your entire life, you know, leading to MOPS or before MOPS and beyond, you know?
Well, definitely. As I look back now, I can see in all my situations, if I look back, decisions that I made, I can see God's hand in it all. You know, I can see some people would not think that, but since I have the faith that I do, I can look back and see, oh, God was protecting me here. God was protecting me here. God moved me here. You know, he gave me, I didn't know at the time that it was God, you know, when I made these decisions to change the trajectory of my life. And, but I look back and I often think like, somebody must have been praying for me, but I don't know who. And that's what I really like, as I've gotten older, think like, how did I get here? Like how God had a plan for my life, but I didn't know that. Like how, I feel like somebody had to be praying for me, you know, somebody had to be praying for me through that time. And I don't know who it was. I didn't grow up a Christian. We went to church. We were Episcopalian. We went to church randomly on holidays and stuff, but I didn't really know anything. Then when I met my husband, his mom had recently became a Christian, and she shared with us, and that's how we became Christians. MOPS was so vital for me as well. I joined just as a parent, but then after my first year, they asked me to join the steering team. So there's a steering team of like, you know, 6 or 7 people. There's a director, there's a hospitality leader, there's, you know, a MOPS mentor. So I joined the steering team, and I was on that for about 6 years. And that really helped me grow my faith, because there were seasoned Christian women who were moms, wives, and allowed me to witness that and kind of model my family and my life after that, like my mothering, my, you know, how I am as a wife, how I am it just, and it helped me to grow my faith, because we just spent so much time together. I mean, the core of us, like 4 of us, we're still really good friends today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was, I think to this day, like I still think that it was the best time of my life, because also, though, that I started building leadership skills that I didn't know I had. When I became the director, my friend said, who was leaving, she's like, I think you would be really good at this. And I'm like, me? No, I can't do this. And she's like, no, lead a team of 7 people, 7, 8 people. I'm like, no. And then I was reading something, and it was, I think it was a quote, and it said, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips those he calls. And I was like, okay, you know what? He's going to equip me. And so I took on the position, and it was great. And I did really well at it. I mean, I realized like I have these really good leadership skills. And that allowed me to, made me desire to, put my kids in a school that stressed, Christian faith. Faith is, it's everything to me now. I mean, I start the day every morning talking to God and talk to him throughout the day. And, it's just gotten stronger and stronger. I've been in really good churches. I'm in a really good, authentic church now. I have good community, which I think is so important. Whether you go to, like you said, whether you go to church or you don't go to church, like finding a community of people who you can share with, and they'll encourage you and build you up. And, you can be yourself, but also the authentic self. I think people get a little turned off with churches because they feel like it's so structured and, you're not allowed to do all this thing, but it's not about that. It's about the freedom to be who you are and do, the freedom to live in God's word.
So thanks for sharing with that. So my next question for you, and I like to ask this to all my guests as well, because I think this is really important because it's been impactful to me and it's still impactful right now. Did you have any mentors or anyone you relied on for guidance throughout your life or even now as an adult?
Yeah, definitely agreed. Mentors are so important. And growing up as, like I said, I had a mom who was like, do what you want, just be safe, let me know, which could go either way, but I had a really, when I was in high school, I had a really good group of friends who all came from 2-parent homes, and they had really good family times. And I can think of a couple friends who, when I would spend time with them, I would see how how their family was. My mom and I, like, she cooked and we just kind of ate separately or whatever. I ate in front of the TV, but just seeing, how you eat dinner as a family. Like, I didn't know what it was to eat dinner as a family. I didn't know what it was to set a table. I learned how to set a table at my friend's house, family games, family activities. We didn't really do any of that. My mom worked a lot, so I was kind of on my own a lot. So growing up, definitely my two of my really good friends who I'm still friends with today. We don't talk every day, but we, we text happy birthday on our birthdays. We stay in touch, through Facebook and stuff. And I know to this day, if we could meet up, sometimes we do when we go places, we'll meet up. And it's just like, they're those friends where time and distance doesn't matter. You just, we just pick up where we left off. But being at their house and seeing what moms and dads together, having 2 parents were like, having dinner together, playing games and stuff. I tried to, it made me see the kind of family that I wanted to have, helped me to see the kind of family I wanted to create and grow with my kids. It was very funny because I would have their friends over and we would sit down and have dinner together. And I remember one of their friends saying, "You eat dinner together? We never eat dinner together at my house." And I thought, wow, that's like so amazing that I can be that for someone else. And I was recently talking to someone who said the same thing. Like, as a parent, when your child brings home I wouldn't say we had tracks in Vermont, but kind of wrong side of the tracks. Like, when I was younger, my mom was a single mom. It was looked down upon. I kind of did what I wanted to do. So if I was a parent and at that time, and I'm bringing, my child's bringing this friend home, some parents would be like apprehensive and not want their kid to hang out with someone like that.
Sure.
But these parents, my friend's parents, were so welcoming and warm. They included me on family vacations. They looked out for me. It was so important, because you don't realize that kids, there's kids that don't, they just don't know any better. And so I tried to model that with my children. And it's so, for those of you out there who have kids and they might bring home somebody, a friend that, you might not want them to hang out with. Of course, you have to be cautious and you have to have conversations and stuff. But if they want to bring that kid to your house, you could really change their lives, because they definitely changed my life. And I actually, my one friend, my best friend growing up, her mom, she's always touching base with me on Facebook and stuff. And I was able to say to her, I was able to have a conversation with her. And I said, I just want to thank you, because I didn't know what it was like to have a family growing up. I just had my mom, and she worked a lot. So being at their house was like so amazing for me, and it showed me what I could have and the kind of life that I wanted for my kid, for when I had kids and stuff. So it was really cool. I was able to, thank her, and she was so thankful that that she was able to be that for me. She didn't realize, they didn't realize they were being that for me at the time. They were just really wonderful and kind people. So, that, as growing up, that was my mentoring growing up. And then, of course, when I became a mom and I joined the steering team, who I'm really good friends with today still, they really watching them taught me how to be a mom, a godly mom and a godly wife. And so, and then, I call her my boss. She doesn't like it when I call her my boss now, my nanny boss. She's my friend too. She's been a great mentor to me too, because, although we don't share the same beliefs, we definitely respect each other. We encourage each other. I think we've taught each other different things, and she's really helped me to realize how to advocate for myself in all situations, which I didn't always know how to do. I would always feel bad, like, asking for something that I deserve, or feel bad because, saying no to something or whatever. So she's been a real mentor for me too, because she's encouraged me to advocate for myself, and she's, so positive and always supportive, and she's amazed at my strength. I'm amazed at her strength. So, those are a few of my mentors along the way.
That's amazing. First off, thank you for sharing. Powerful story.
I didn't think that one would bring tears.
No, I think that's very important.
Thank you.
I was very appreciative of sharing that. Thank you. And again, it just shows clearly how powerful mentors, like who it is. Like sometimes people think it's their boss, or maybe it's a family friend or a parent, another person's parent, or, for me, it's people who've just supported me in my career, or even my wife, with how strong her faith has been. She's mentored me to raise up my faith and in my walk. So you never know who it is. So just, that's why every episode, I always try to bring awareness to how powerful mentors are and how they can change your life. And maybe some people, unfortunately, don't have the opportunity to have a mentor, but, seek them out, just like the community. Seek out a mentor. Yeah. You never know who's willing to do it. Most people are, because it's altruistic. It's both ways, right? It makes them feel good in a way, and it makes you feel good because now you're benefiting in a unique way that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
So, that's why thank you again for sharing that. As we're wrapping up, I have a couple questions left here for you. So as you've been talking, really the word that comes to my mind is adversity. A lot of adversity that you face, and obviously where you are, you're an amazing woman, powerful. You've succeeded in in everything you've done. You have a great walk with God. Your kids are amazing because I know them, and your husband's just as amazing. But I know you faced through a lot of adversity, and we've had episodes on adversity from other people. And I would love to just ask you, how did you get through it all?
Well, definitely God, always. Before I even knew him, I'm sure it was him, getting me through it. But one of the coolest things, it's one of the saddest things and one of the coolest things at the same time. When in 2013, I was at school, working, I was out at recess, and it was, October 30th, starting to snow. And, because I'm from Vermont, I love snow. I was so excited, and my mom and I would always call each other when it first snowed, So I came in from recess, and I picked up the phone to call her, and there was a message. And when I listened to the message, it was my stepdad, and he said, "This is not the cool part, by the way, but I'll get to the cool part." He said, "Rhonda, your mom collapsed. It doesn't look good. We're taking her to the hospital. Call me as soon as you can." And so I immediately broke down and started crying. My best friend to this day, your aunt, my love, and she's my BFF. She was in the classroom next to me, and I just went into her classroom and I just started crying, and she's hugging me. She's like, "What's going on?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "My mom collapsed." And so I called. I couldn't get my stepdad. I called my cousins who were up there, and they hadn't heard. And I'm like, "What are the hospitals nearby?" I didn't remember where the hospitals were. I had to call around and finally got the hospital where she was. They put my stepdad on. He said, "I'm so sorry. She collapsed." They tried to resuscitate her, but she didn't make it. And she was only 62 at the time. So, really hard because, she's the only one in my life to this day, besides God, who has loved me unconditionally. And I know we all say we love people unconditionally. That's our goal. You want your spouse to love you unconditionally. You want to love them unconditionally. But honestly, they get you mad, you get upset and stuff there. But truly, as a mom, she unconditionally loved me. And so when she passed away, I wasn't angry. I wasn't angry at God. I didn't question why. I didn't feel there was anything left unsaid because we really talked all the time. We told each other we loved each other. So I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I mean, I was upset, of course, but I wasn't angry at God. I didn't question it, but it was so sudden. Life immediately felt different.
Sure.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing, losing. And up to that time, I hadn't lost anyone. So life immediately felt different, and I felt different. And I would say to my husband, to my friends, like, "Am I different? Do I seem different? Do I look different? Like, am I acting different?" And they're like, "No, you seem fine. But inside I felt so different. And I just couldn't get back to who I was before her death. So my husband was so great at this point. He reached out to our pastor and he said, "Listen, my wife's really struggling. I don't know what to do. Can you talk to her?" So I met with our pastor and the counselor of, our pastor of counseling, whatever. He was a counselor, and we met and we talked. And he said, "It seems like you had a really wonderful relationship and you loved each other really well, but I think you could really benefit from some grief counseling." And they offered to pay for me to go to grief counseling.
Is it?
Yeah, which is amazing because we have great insurance. But, at the time I was just a mess. And on the outside I wasn't. I held it all together. Like I've done my whole life, I did what I needed to do, held it all together, raised my family, but inside I just felt so different. Life just changed like immediately. So they sent me to a grief counselor, and she was wonderful. And the first day I said, I can't get back to myself. And she said, "Well, I'm going to tell you, I can't get you back to yourself because life's different now, but I can walk you through this and get you through so that you can get, through this and get to a new place. And here's the cool part. This book that we went through, she gave me a book and we went through it together. I think it was called the Grief Recovery book. Mm-hmm. You heard of it? No?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. It was so great. But there is one part in it where you have to track your loss throughout your life. You write down your loss and go through and track in order your loss. Now, loss, I thought just death, but she's like, no, that's not loss. That's not just a loss. When, not having a father, having, your mom's boyfriend leave and desert you, even when your best friend moves away, like there's all these different losses. And she said, write them all down. And then write them down and when you're going to come back and we're going to discuss this. So as I'm writing them out, charting them out, when I get to like the end and I look at it, I'm like, this is the cool part. I'm like, wow. Like I've really been through a lot. I've had a lot of loss in my life and I've overcome it. And like, I'm still like, my life is still good. Like I'm in a good place. I have a good family. I created this family that I wanted. And I created this life that I always wanted. And I looked back and I'm like, and I did it even through all that loss. And I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was, but immediately it changed. It changed and I felt good again. And I felt like, I was myself again. Like, I don't know how looking at that loss over the years and seeing what I've overcome, but whatever it was, it just changed. And in that moment, I felt like I was going to be okay. So that's the really cool part of that. And it's a wonderful book. And I believe it's called the Grief Recovery book. But if anybody, needs it, I can look it up for sure.
Yeah. Offline, I'll probably get that information for you and I'll post it on your profile so people can see it. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to look for it. So it'll be right on the website. But that is truly an amazing story. All I can think of is, as much as I don't want to say it cringely, I hope mm-hmm. people understand what I'm trying to say, but your movie, your life is
my like movie.
Your life is like a movie. And I'm so glad that I'm able to use this platform for you so that you can tell people this story, because even if it's one part of this episode or all of it, it's going to impact people. And, I think truly, and I never knew that this would happen, this conversation. I never know how the episodes are going to go, but I think your story is so impactful that I'm just so appreciative that I did, have you on to tell it to people and hopefully change their lives, especially, the young people that do listen to my podcast. I mean, older people, I'm sure, still have plenty of time to change, things, and you never know. But Rhonda, it's amazing what you've been through, and just like the less than an hour that we've been together in your story is just so powerful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
As we wrap things up here, I'm not going to ask you one of the questions because you kind of answered, which is, what are your best and worst moments of your life or your career, which sounds like that's the story that you would have shared, I would assume. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so I'm just going to skip to the last question, which is, what are the 5 essential things you think you need in life to succeed?
Well, I thought about this because I knew you were going to ask this and I kind of made it notes, but as we were talking and as I was driving here, one of the things that I didn't put down, but that I really think is important is the mentors, mentors, because, even if, like you said, even if you don't have anybody, I didn't really have anybody growing up, but, looking back, I see that God placed these people in my life, but you can go out and look for it because it's so important to have somebody to show you what your life can be like, mm-hmm. And how to get there, I would say a good work ethic, you got to work hard. I feel like integrity and honesty. Mm-hmm. I try to be honest in all that I do and have integrity. I think that is like one of the number one things that I always try to teach my kids too. It doesn't matter what you've done or whatever, just be honest with me.
Yeah.
Be honest with me and we can figure it out. So, and is that 4 or is that 3?
4.
That's 4. Yay. And then I wrote kindness because, for me throughout my life, I don't think I was always kind growing up. Like, when I was in high school, I probably wasn't super kind. But that was stemmed from my insecurity and stuff. But as I've grown older, I think I see, you never know what people are going through and what they're struggling with. So I think, it's just to show kindness to people will go a long way. That's 5.
That's 5. You made it. Yeah, some people don't make it, so it's another accomplishment.
Well, if you surprise them, then it's hard to think on the spot, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, everybody knows it.
Yeah, true.
I did have like 21 episodes of asking people this.
You did. You did.
And I know you listen to the podcast, so I appreciate that. Rhonda, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners before we wrap things up?
Just that I'm very proud of you. I mean, we've known each other for, I don't know how long now. I think
over 10 years plus.
Yeah, 10 plus easily. Years. It was, and the things that the adversity that you've been through too, and what you've done and how you are here. And, I'm just very proud of you. And I'm so thankful that I got to witness that. I mean, you weren't a kid, but I kind of got to witness you mature into a man and a father and your faith and everything. So, I'm thankful that I got to witness that and be a part of that. And I'm thankful that, I was able to share this. I've always wanted to kind of share my story. And when I was a youth leader for a long time, and I used to share this with the girls and, the young girls, cause that's where my heart is, like young girls without dads. So, I'm just thankful. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share it.
Thank you for saying those words. I was trying to hold back tears.
You need to cry. I cried.
I'm gonna cry. Still gotta wrap things up. I don't want my voice to break as I'm trying to wrap things up.
Yeah.
But thank you.
But I'm so proud of you, and I know it hasn't been easy, and you haven't had a lot of support either. So,
thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that.
We got each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you very much, Rhonda, for your time and sharing your story, your powerful story, your movie story. Ready? Hopefully, maybe she gets famous because of this, and maybe I get a little cut. I don't know. We'll see. But everyone, I hope you gained plenty of insights today. This was the most powerful story of all my podcast episodes. So, and I truly mean that. From the episodes that are coming to my old episodes, Rhonda's story is untoppable. So I appreciate her for that. And this is truly the beginning of becoming a someone, but specifically the someone you always wanted to be. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please do give me a like, review, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also visit my website, thedrnobodypodcast.com, to learn more about my guests like Rhonda and listen to the episode again and share this episode and much more. Thanks again for listening to season 2 of the Dr. Nobody podcast, where we continue to turn nobodies to somebodies. Talk to you all very soon.